All right, guys, it's time to do an experiment here. I showed you all the 3D printers and whatnot that we got. My moderator, Jatman, came and spent an entire day here getting our Ender 5 working and the Lulzbot all nice and tuned. So I wanted to do a little bit of an experiment here. I found on Thingiverse this model, and I'll link it down below if you guys have 3D printers, where you can make an adapter to go onto like a standard AMD Wraith cooler and adapt it to either a 120 or 140 millimeter fan. So I figured, why not stress test the hell out of the stock cooler with a 5900X doing Cinebench on a repeated loop with PBO enabled, which means more voltage, more amps, more clock speed. And then we throw that adapter on there and see whether or not you need to buy a big old cooler or maybe just toss someone $5 to print one of these for you. Corsair's new 32-inch Xeneon 1440p gaming monitor has the features you need to play your best. Features like silky smooth 165Hz refresh rate IPS display with 1 millisecond MPRT response time, quantum dot technology HDR400, and built-in mount for either a microphone, webcam, or even a DSLR. To see the complete list of features of the Corsair Xeneon 32-inch gaming monitor, follow the link in the description below. So this cooler, look, the reason why you don't get box coolers with the 5900X and the 5950 is because those are the highest core density, highest power draw CPUs that AMD currently makes before AMD or AM5 stuff comes out. And realistically, to get their full potential unlocked, you need an aftermarket cooler, whether that be something with vapor chambers or heat pipes, water cooler, AIO, whatever. The chunk of aluminum, these are just chunks of aluminum here. In fact, I have a small one that's half the height of that, and I can show you. Give me one sec. Here we go. Yeah, realistically, I should have used this if I really wanted to test it, because this obviously has, I guess, I don't know if it's linear, but this would be like half the amount of thermal mass as this because it's half the height. But anyway, you see it's just a chunk of aluminum, all right? You can see where the CPU is. Some of the higher end ones that used to come on the older Ryzen CPUs actually had a little disc of copper in here. But I don't know why they switched to just straight aluminum chunks instead of copper. Maybe there was a transfer issue between the copper and the aluminum. I don't know, but you can see it's mostly just fins. So you've got this fan that hooks up to your CPU fan header, blows down, air comes out, and it cools the components around it too, which is kind of nice. Whereas just the standard tower is it blows air through it, but there's no cooling around the motherboard. So I do like downfire fans like that. The problem is this 92 millimeter fan and the fact that you get a lot of splash too around the edges. It's not sealed off in any way. Just their efficiency is only good enough for lower end CPUs. So like a 5600X, hell, even like a 5800X, maybe 5800X 3D maybe even, might be fine with this taller cooler with the fan curve kind of maxed out. Now right now we do have this fan running full speed, as you can hear right there, as it sounds like a table saw. See if I can make it sound like a table saw. Like okay, anyway. So we're gonna run Cinebench. This is R20, not the newest R23. That's fine. We don't care about what test we're running as long as one, it's difficult, and two, I'm not tripping over my lights, and two, that it runs repeatedly, and then we do A/B testing with the exact same piece of software. Now with Precision Boost Overdrive on, the limit on the CPU is 9DC. We didn't touch that, that is still 9DC. I could raise that in the BIOS, I'm not going to. It does increase the clock speed by 200 megahertz. We have 500 watts worth of PPT. We'll never get anywhere near that. That's just how much wattage the CPU is allowed to draw. Theoretically, this is unlimited, effectively unlocked potential. You keep it cool enough, it will give all the power that you need. So let's go ahead and start the test here. And it's going to loop. And let's just see what our initial clock speeds are to compare. 4.475 gigahertz. It's gonna slowly come down, because as that temp comes up, it's gonna come down because it is a curve. The efficiency of Ryzen versus Intel, even with the newest Intel stuff, is still just, it's kind of embarrassing for Intel if you wanna know the truth. Because Intel's pulling, if we do any sort of overclock on a 12th gen CPU, it hits 250 watts. So right now we hit 90C, and it's funny, 90C, when it's orange, tells us like, hey, you're right on the edge. When it goes red, that means it's effectively throttling. There we go. See how it's going back and forth? It's effectively throttling to maintain that 90C. Does that mean we're dropping clocks hard? No. That just means it's dynamically adjusting the clock speed at that point and any other metrics it need, whether it be its power or wattage. So it's controlling its temperature by dropping clock speed, which means wattage drop, which means the voltage drop, to keep things under control. I'm pretty impressed so far though, honestly, at how good this cooler is. It's getting toasty already. I do have, and I forgot to mention this. Wow, that's really hot at the bottom. Okay, anyway. I am using KPX, or Keenpin Cooling Extreme thermal compound on this, and I will be doing that obviously on the retest as well. And I didn't paint or spread the paste on, I just did this basic X pattern that I do on Ryzen CPUs. So I'm keeping that obviously as a constant as well. So that's obviously gonna have a big play on how good the cooler is gonna do. Is that's kind of like the last transfer defense there, right? Between the heat spreader and the cooler. It's up to the cooler to do the rest. But we've dropped from 4.5 down to 4.06 right now. So as you can see, we've lost nearly 500 megahertz, or about 400 megahertz, 425 megahertz, because I think 4.475 is where it maxed out. Average core voltage right now is 1.204, 1.208. So as you can see, not a lot of voltage at all going into this. In fact, I could probably undervolt that more if I wanted, but there's no point. The voltage is already pretty low on this. If we had seen like 135, 1.4, obviously we would want to be dropping voltage, but this is one of the metrics it's doing to drop 1.19 to keep the temperatures under control. So I think I'm gonna let this go now for about 5 more minutes and see. I mean, we've pretty much hard limited here. My question is, once we have reached full thermal capacity of this cooler, it is toasty. Like if I feel the heat, Phil, it's hot. Anyway, I want to see what the full thermal capacity of this cooler is and what our clock speeds will drop down to. Then when our print is done, which is going to take another 3 hours, we'll plop that adapter on, and then we'll put like a nice 120 on there, maybe something with a little RGB, a little flare on there. And then we'll see exactly if the fan itself is a limiting factor here. I'm going to admit, I'm really impressed. It didn't drop below 4 gigahertz all-core. Remember, this is a 5900X. This thing has got, what, 24 threads? 12 core, 24 thread, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. 12 cores, 24 threads. I guess I could have put a 5950 on here and really pushed it, but no, this is fine. Will we still hit 90C? And if we do, will we somehow maintain a higher clock speed because of the fact that it can keep it closer to that 90C without having to drop the parameters as much? So let's go take a look at the print, its progress, and then we'll show you when it's done. We actually have it printing on 2 printers, that way we have twice the chance of success. So here it is on the Lulzbot right here. This is being printed with a 2.85 millimeter PLA filament. And then we have the Ender 5 over here, which is, we spent, well, like I said, Jatman spent a ton. Remember the guy I built the computer for, from a moderator? Him, he works in the 3D printing industry, so he knows what he's doing here. Anyway, we've got this one going. This is a faster printer at finer filament at 1.75. So this one goes slower because it really has to smush the 2.85 down into a 0.5 nozzle, whereas this is 1.75 into a 0.4, so less squish. I'm curious as if this one will catch and surpass this one. This is what the duct looks like here. So these 4 screws actually mount into the top of the Wraith, and they have a little pass-through hole, and you use the same Wraith screws to hold it down. Then you got the 120. You could do a 140 with this also if you wanted, but I wanted to go 120 because I wanted the higher velocity, higher RPM fans that push more air rather than just overall CFM. So the Lulzbot one didn't turn out very good. The support material actually broke off from the bed and then was just getting in, like, all swooshed into the sides. So that's why we had the Ender going, because look, check it out. Now I didn't lose, that was like 2 hours worth of print before I noticed that was happening. Now what we need to do is take off these 4 screws holding on this fan, screw that down into there. And then I was concerned that this wasn't gonna fit with the graphics card there, but it actually does. So, and then we're gonna use the VTrue fan, just a basic 120 millimeter fan. It's got some RGB on there. I don't expect there to be any sort of like major improvement, but that's why I'm really looking forward to doing more of these types of projects. Congratulations, AMD Cooler, you have graduated to a better cooler. He's a little tassel. I know. And then flip it to the other side. So there we go. Since this is technically the first thing I printed that we're actually putting into use right now in a system, that makes this shroud approximately $350. It's okay, we're gonna be printing more things, obviously. So I need to get this on here, and as you can see, it will fit. And then test it. I'm excited. Even if there's no change, it looks cooler, okay? Just another reason to really enjoy iFixit, because the little bendy head thing is actually coming in handy here. So if you don't have your iFixit yet, the f are you waiting for? So remember, we are stepping down through kind of like a velocity stack sort of deal where it's tapering, which means the pressure is increasing, and it's got to push down through these fins. And what I'm noticing is there's a crap ton of air coming back out. Watch, let me demonstrate. Dude, that is so weird. Like, I can feel the air on the bottom of my palm going that way, but yet the paper is getting sucked in. So, okay, it's working. It's just weird that I can feel the air coming around. So it's currently at 63 C. When we're just sort of chilling, not doing anything, the temperatures are high in AMD. A lot of people freak out about AMD's like high temps when you first boot and are not really doing anything. It's important to remember that that is absolutely normal behavior. So, all right, let's see what happens now with the CPU. '81, '82. Holy cow. It can keep it under control for a minute anyway. Will it hit 90? See, I mean, it hit 90 before the first test was over last time. But look at the maintaining clock right there. Oh, it's almost at 90. There's 90. I guess we'll just have to see where the frequencies tend to drop. Why did the RGB stop RGBing? MSI, quit MSIing, please. For the love of God, once in your life, build a product. There you go, thank you. It'll do one and it'll turn off for a while. Okay, well, it still looks neat. 90C already dropped down to 4.14, 4.13, 4.12. So, I mean, it's going to more than likely bottom out exactly where it did before, and we'll go ahead and let it do that. And then I have one more trick. I have one more last ditch effort to see if I, oh yeah, there it goes. It was at 4.09 right there, which means it's absolutely gonna hit the limit again. There it is, 4.06, 4.05. So we have zero improvement other than the fact that it looks a little nicer. So here's what I have in mind. You know, when the hammer doesn't get the job done, you just get a bigger hammer. So this is that Delta fan, that 3000 RPM, pulls like 2 amps by itself fan, and I have the grill guard on there. Because this can happen. Oh, look at power supply. I mean, it's not the quietest solution. Dude, I could feel so much air splashing out the bottom. So now it's cooling the VRMs and everything around it like better too. What is our initial temps? Remember last time it was like 61, 44, 40, 38. See, when you've saturated, you just add more saturate. Remember last time I shot up to 80 degrees immediately. 78, 79, 80. That's gonna suck if this gives us the same result, only because of the fact that that's gonna mean that quite literally the chunk of aluminum itself is not able to transfer the heat fast enough. However, we are staying lower than we were, but we're gonna hit 90. That actually sheds a lot of light on the physics behind a CPU cooler and why the kind of cooler matters. Because if we did this same test with this particular fan on like a heat pipe cooler or something with like a heat fin array, we would see, we just hit 90. We would see pretty linear results with airflow to a degree. But yeah, there's 90. It's still at 4.283 while it's at 90 though, but it's obviously gonna slowly drop because that's why it's red, not orange. It's holding longer, but that's only because we are quite literally shoving an atmosphere worth of air into it like every few seconds. That's not real science terms, I just made that up. It's still staying higher, look. It's not at 4.06 like it was, it's still at 4.28. So it's holding it like right on the cusp of 90. Just a fun little experiment I wanted to kind of do. I was thinking about doing while I was on vacation, and there we go. I 3D printed a fan shroud that quite literally has no use beyond this video, but we're printing other things. And this is where I want you guys to kind of chime in and let us know what you think we should 3D print to use in these types of videos. I want to incorporate some 3D printed type stuff in my personal build, which I know is taking forever, trust me, but I have a video coming out where I'm going to talk about the troubles with 12th gen and everyday use, which has kind of made me not be super excited and in a hurry to replace my 10th gen at home with this thing. Stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you're not, because then, you know, you'll be on a list that YouTube won't send notifications to anyway, but it would still make us feel better to see the number go up. And you know, I mean, if we feel good around here, we make better videos, theoretically. Subscribe to find out if that's true.